All right, everybody, thank you all so much for joining us here tonight on CAG Chat. We are joined by some very special guests. Tonight, we will be talking with Sydney Mosley, who is the incoming 46th student member of the board. And we'll be talking about the future of education and his student advocacy. And then we'll also later be joined by Sheriff John Carr, where we will discuss his bid for reelection, public safety, and accountability. Tune in for a very important conversation, and we welcome you all here. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Sherman Hardy, joined by Derek Holmesley, Tanya Wingfield, Lavon 3D Thomas, and also Donna Goodman will be joining us at some point. Y'all know how she do. But I am going to bring on Sydney after I play this quick video because I want to have this video introduce him.
About like all the football field game. BGCPS is currently in a deficit right now. How much money do you think we lost this year?
Like about 10,000.
How much money do you think we lost this year?
100,000.
More.
50 mil?
More.
100 mil?
More.
10 mil?
Going up.
Dang, this is like 100? Probably like 25,000.
Way more.
50,000? In the millions? 2 million?
Way more.
15 million?
Way more.
30 million?
In 100 millions.
100 million?
I think we lost about like all the football field game.
I'm trying to find his camera. There we go. Hey, Sydney, thank you so much for joining us tonight here on CAG Chat.
Hello, guys. Thank you for having me.
And first, let us say congratulations on your win. I have been telling the team I've been so happy and so proud to see your videos and the conversations that you're having, and also the walk that you're doing. Can you give us an introduction to yourself and tell us who Sid is and why he ran for the student board member?
Again, thank you guys for having me. My name is Sydney Mosley. I attend Bowie High School. I'm a junior as of right now. And I want to say the one thing that pushed me towards running is just, I want to say like people knowing what the role is. And I think even students, sometimes you can have a myopic perspective on what we think life is and like the things that matter and don't matter to us, including politics. And one thing is the student member of the board, the role isn't really known that much in PG County as it is more in Montgomery County, Howard County, Allegheny County, counties like that, where the role is more known. So like one biggest thing I wanted to do was just for exposure. And then after that, finding out, what students want, what students need, and how I can make that possible in a realistic time.
Awesome, perfect. Thank you so much for again for for being here and talking about these issues. And I know there was another issue that I was able to see based upon your videos, and they've been definitely helpful. I'm going to play that so you can actually give your opportunity.
What's up, guys?
To
It's
talk about it.
46 member of the board elect right now. And right here, guys, we have a little bit of infrastructure problem right here. The chip coming off on our stairwell. A lot of students are falling right here. And if we come down a little long, you can see the big roof. Looks pretty. A lot of students are complaining about it. Obviously, this is a county issue, not something our school can fix due to funding or whatever reasons. But I just want to shed a little light about some things that are just happening.
So you stated you understand that the budget is not where it needs to be because it's in a deficit, and we do know Tanya has talked about it on several occasions about the money that was taken from the school system. How do you feel as though these are going to you're going to be able to get this out to the public and get some assistance to fix these buildings? What was going through your mind when you made this video?
So the one thing I was thinking about is how our school was extremely old as of right now. And for other schools in the county that are dealing with this, Suitland High School is definitely they've moved on to a different school, and Extreme Center is on a military base right now, an old military base. And then now you have schools like Bowie High School, for people who didn't know, our school was one of the first schools that it was an all-white school, and they started making other schools like Frederick Douglass so the schools could be not integrated, but just had all white and all black school and on both sides. So our school is extremely old, and the problems that we have, we don't have an HVAC system inside our school as of right now, and it's been like that for some time. And I've been speaking with my principal about things that we can do to get it fixed, but right now we have a CIP, a capital improvement plan, and also we can talk about the blueprint things of that nature. So right now, for us, we're like 26 on the CIP, which means that we're not going to see a new school for a new building until like 2031, 2032. Those times in the future. So the biggest thing is just making students aware about the problem, because one thing I noticed is if anybody's at a board meeting, like I've been to multiple board meetings, most of the time there's probably only, I want to say, maybe 3 students there. And what I thought to myself is, the number one thing about an advocacy is you have to get other people on your side, other people who believe the same way that you think. And you can't believe in something if you don't know about it. So I think the knowing about it is definitely step one. And step two is getting people to these board meetings, getting these people to understand how to advocate in the first role. And then after that, I was just thinking about how I can make students be on my side. Like that's definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know that there was another issue within the school system where the where it was hacked, and that's something else that you had been bringing to everyone's attention. Would you mind speaking about that a little bit?
Oh my God. The hacking with Shiny Hunters was definitely something that I was very shocked about, and that video got more views than that video about the budget. I
Hmm.
was so disappointed about that. But the thing that we're dealing with right now with the Shiny Hunters hack, thank God that there was no data on there that we needed. I mean, I spoke with my IT teacher about that when I was very close to in high school, but that was a not just a county-wide, that was a worldwide canvas breach that. And one thing that I spoke with him about was that the breach wasn't detrimental to us like it was 4 years ago, because that was a different breach where I had our personal information, things like that. But we don't store anything. The PGCPS doesn't store any information like that on Canvas. But other universities got hit pretty bad who did keep information on there that was needed. So I wanted to make a video to tell our students about it, and then actually a supporter of mine told me that, like, sent me a list of at least 300 schools who were all attacked by it. I was very surprised.
Mm, wow. And Levon, I believe you had a question for Sid as well.
Thank you. My question is not going to be about the hot schools. You triggered a different question for me. When I was in school many, many moons ago, I was a student government president at Central High School, Falcons for Life. And my classmate was the student board member, right? Or was she was the student government president, I think, for the whole county, one of those positions. But the student government in Prince George's County Public Schools was very active. So when we're talking about accountability and governance, I cut my teeth on that, right, in high school. Do you have does PGCPS have an active student government network within the school system? We used to have county and kind of regional SGA meetings with all the presidents. What's your relationship with the other schools, or what do you want that relationship to be?
So definitely one thing I want to shout out the current student on the board, Oyelu Ajakai, who has definitely helped me a lot with what I'm doing as of right now, making my transition. We were actually supposed to have an SAC meeting, student advisory council meeting today that got canceled due to like the thunderstorms and stuff like that, as she's serving her duties for graduation through the CBS. But the one thing I definitely want to highlight is, first I want to shout out Alzina, the president who attends Frederick Douglass, who graduating with her associate's degree. Well, she already graduated, but she's a PGRAS president right now, and Area Lewis student board member. And the one thing that I've noticed is that the cohesion has went up in the past couple of years. We have a regional presence in the MASC, Maryland Association of Student Councils, and we also have a national presence in the National Association of Student Councils. So I want to also highlight Mr. our advisor right now, who keeps us all together in a bunch and makes sure that we're able to do certain things like this. We also have a state student member of the board as of right now who's committed to Harvard, Omari Barnes. So definitely shout out to him. But PGCPS, I think this is probably the highest we've ever been in all of representation. And I think the representation comes after advocacy, knowing what we can do in our own county and being able to, succeed at.
Thank you.
Okay.
So Did anyone else have any questions for Sid?
Well, I have another question. Can I ask another
Okay.
question about that step?
Sure.
You
Sure.
reported that live. You did a recording of that step and that open ceiling. Has any action been taken on those things?
On the ceilings?
Yeah, the missing panels in the ceiling and the step that's not properly edged.
Okay, so the one thing I did speak about before was to building services was that one of my teachers told me that that stairway was supposed to be shut off because it hasn't. And then a young lady actually broke her ankle or like, seriously fractured it going down those stairs.
Oh,
And
wow.
speaking to her, she was like, "Yeah, my mom is gonna have to end up suing the school and like that. She's in the middle of filing a lawsuit." And I was like, because I didn't believe it at first. I was like, "Whoa, like that's pretty serious." And I told him like the first thing you need is the like security footage and things like that nature to be able to go about it the right way. And to be honest, I think it is the school's fault in this situation for not properly taking care of that stairwell. Because the only thing I can think about is this isn't a money issue. This was just our own sake. It's not a budget issue. We had the ability to stop this young lady from hurting her ankle seriously. And whether you want to say she was tripping around or she was doing something she wasn't supposed to do, whose fault does this actually come on at the end of the day? If they would have shut down that stairwell, then she would have been completely fine and none of this would have happened. Unless something else like that would have happened that usually doesn't happen in our school. But there's a ledge missing from the middle of the step. She jumped on it, like just trying to get on the stairs, and everything just went wrong. So now to answer your question about the ceiling, that ceiling has been slowly coming on my past 3 years at Bowie High School, and I think that actually might be a maintenance problem. I'm not sure, but I definitely have been speaking with maintenance about that. But in the county right now, we've been dealing with a lot of maintenance issues. My teacher, my middle school band teacher, Mr. Peck, over the summer, his band room lost air conditioning. So it basically turned into a mold spore. It was spores on everything. It was absolutely terrible. So he actually lost so many instruments. But then when I talked to him about it, I just saw him recently at a graduation party. His budget after, and no, so first he only got all those certain things. He got those instruments replaced, violas, violins, basses, all those things. He just recently got those replaced in July. I mean, in June. In June, he's getting them replaced in June after waiting since the beginning of last summer. And his budget for the entire school for band is only $50. So you can only
I'm sorry, you
imagine
say how much?
$50 for the entire band program for my middle school. And I was sitting there and he was like, "Sydney, you got to help me with this when you get elected. Like, help me do something." And I was thinking to myself, to put that $50 in perspective, me and the other candidate, Brian Tobias Polanco, we both are getting reimbursed $500 for the money that we spent on our campaign due to our former sponsor, Alvaro, who's also running. I think Alvaro's running for District 3 for PCPS. But I was thinking to myself, and I was like, if a teacher for around, I don't know, like 300 students or something like that, however many people are coming through his band program, are only able to get allocated $50. And people who were in that space of that time, they were sharing instruments the entire. So he had to pick students who didn't like. He had to end up picking students who could play on instruments, who couldn't play on instruments, and try to make it work as much as possible. But the biggest thing when I was honestly just shocked just as much as you are right now, Shannon, just about like how he was only given $50 to run an entire band program for the entire year.
Wow.
I need to come over there and be a band parent.
That's
What
crazy.
what instrument do you play?
I play all percussion instruments.
Oh,
As
nice. Okay, percussionist. Yeah, that is very concerning. And I know that, of course, with the budget deficit that we have, we're tightening our purse, but we have to make room for the arts. That's very important that we do that, for various reasons, especially in order to give kids, something constructive to do. And music is an international language, and it brings people from different corners of the earth together. And I definitely hope that something can be done, not only just the um, about the stairway situation in some of the other schools who are waiting for these improvements, but also for some of the programs that impact so many kids in our schools. And because I look forward to a battle of a band, I hope that we can get something like that going. But what are some of the other concerns that you are seeing right now that we need to um, talk about? Is there anything else going on?
I mean, one thing I want to do is I definitely want to highlight what's happening in the state of Maryland. I mean, we went up, my school actually went up to Annapolis to go sit in, but the thing was, it was kind of different for me. I had met the Speaker of the House, Jocelyn Pena, at Steny Hoyer's
Oh, you
44th.
mute your phone.
And then after I met Steny Hoyer there, I actually spoke with Glenn Ivey for the second time, representing Glenn Ivey. And then after that, I ended up speaking with Senator Angela Alsobrooks at Steny Hoyer's last convention breakfast. I met with Adrian Dewafo. There's a lot of key leaders who are, in the center, to people who are helping our community as of right now. Steny Hoyer bringing the FBI headquarters to PG County and things of that nature. But the thing I wanted to highlight, and like the thing I highlighted when I ended up going to Annapolis for the day that they were meeting, the representatives and the senators, was that Wes Moore had cut like 300 million from the DDA, the Disabilities Act for the people, and like watching that movement outside, they were outside of his house, asking him to restore the money or to help them. There were many people with disabilities who are out there speaking about what was happening, who were speaking about how they felt. A lot of people losing the one-on-one care that they need, just as if you had an IEP or 504 inside a PCBS school, like they're losing that help that they need. And that it definitely sat different with me because if I wouldn't have went there that day, I mean, I didn't see any news service telling me about that day. I mean, we're talking about many other things, but the biggest thing that I did because on my free time, I'm a reporter. So before I
Okay.
started this, I was doing my interviews, my sports interviews, politician interviews, just to get more of a sense of what is happening in different places. My sports is more just for my high pace, high fashion kind of thing. But then the politicians, I just did my first interview with the mayor of Bowie, Mayor Mike.
I saw that.
And we had a podcast called Bowie Unfiltered, just talking about a whole lot of things that are happening in the county, why Six Flags was closed, what they're going to do with Six Flags, problems in our school, the infrastructure, things of that nature. So I want to just like, for any student who is looking to advocate, I would just say it starts with yourself. And you can never not know as much information like as possible. Like there's people in the county, and it shouldn't be this way, who don't even know who the White House press secretary is. Like you can always do your bare minimum job of educating yourself about the political matter of the world because all I'll see is just Trump this and Trump that. But it comes down to your county or state level first. What is happening there? And I think because of how close Maryland is to DC, it's definitely different for students here, people watching the political climate due to how close we are. But even around, I think anybody can do the due diligence to understand
Yeah.
what's happening in certain places and why they're happening.
Mhm. Yeah, and I definitely want to say I love what you just said, and I might have to recruit you to come on here and help report for CAG. But in addition to what you just said, I just want to let the students know that it was the children who led the March in '64 that got the Civil Rights Act, and it was the children who led the March in '65 that got the Voting Rights Act. So never think that you don't have any power and that you all don't have a voice. I want you all to exercise that to the best of your ability because it really starts at that age. When you're young and you have bright ideas and you're trying to figure out life, and that's really when you should start discovering how do you want the people to represent you, to be, especially who is going to be your voice. You all have to start looking at that now as well, because you're soon be out of school and you'll be adulting. And it'll come time when a lot of these things that are happening right now are going to impact you, and you'll have no idea where it came from or why it came, why it became to be this way. So I think Derek has a question for you as well. I'm not going to take too much of your time because I know you have other things you have to do, but Derek, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Sydney. First and foremost, I just want to say before I get to my question, congratulations and having the gumption to step up and represent your student population for Prince George's County Schools. But with that, young man, comes a great deal of responsibility, integrity, and your ability to speak up when you know things are not right. And I'm just offering that advice to you like I offered to another young student person on the board some years ago to be Sydney. Don't let anybody change Sydney. And whatever you believe in, if it's right, then speak your mind and hold and stand your ground on it. Okay? My question is there any um, I guess from other students to you, have you heard any complaints or any concerns about them being able to get to school on time if they ride the school bus?
Oh my God. I don't even need to go to other students for that. Every just to give you an example of a day of Sydney when I took the school bus. I have to get up at 5:30 a.m. every day to get on the school bus. Now, if it's a cold day, let's say something 40 degrees or something like that outside, I have to walk to my school bus. I have to walk to the bus stop. And then after you walk to the stop, you have to wait 20 something minutes for us to be able to get on the bus. After 20 minutes, you have to wait to get on the bus. The bus is entirely full. So we end up standing up on the bus. Even though I'm pretty sure it's legal due to some law or something like that. That's what my teacher told me when I was speaking to her about it. So we do all this. Mind you, we get to the school. After we get to the school, we have to wait. It's I would say it's around 6:44 a.m. We have to wait anywhere from 16 to 21 minutes outside in the cold before we can even get inside the school building, due to there being metal detectors and they have to set up their book bags on so they have to do in the county. So every day, like students are constantly missing the bus due to the bus not coming on time, not enough school bus drivers. And then on top of that, we can't even get inside the building in a timely manner once we get there, due to how the bus times are staggered for our different opening times. Now, the biggest thing is, like, if you're a student like me, the next year, I'm pretty sure I might not be in this predicament once I get my badge. Hopefully, I don't have to go outside of it. But there shouldn't be exceptions. That's one thing I want to highlight. Like, I've watched many teachers just walk by once we're sitting in the cold around like 6:50 a.m. just watching them all walk into the school. And there's certain times I'm just gonna just go into school like that. It's like there's so many times because the temperatures they're not just 40 degrees. Sometimes they get around like 20, and I'm pretty sure that week before that winter, the winter Armageddon, we were out for a lot of time. Temperatures were like 20 something in the morning every morning. Now you can say, maybe just dress for them, but what about the students who don't have the same financial
Absolutely.
able
Hmm.
to do that? Like we're not. I don't think. I think we're thinking of a more equality based, more equity based, definitely due to all the financial situations, all the times people have to actually put into debt. And then after that, if you miss the school bus, that's an unexcused absence most of the time due to the transportation rules that we have in the county. So this missing, all I can say, Mr. Berg, is that you're gonna miss the school bus a lot. It's not gonna come a lot, and sometimes it can come, and you're probably gonna be standing.
Right. I just want to say to you the law that you're talking about in terms of students standing on the bus, that's COMAR, the Annotated State Code, COMAR. And it was some years ago, and I haven't read it recently, but it is permissible for 10 students to stand in the aisle of the bus if there is no seats, just so you'll know that when you get on the board. And in terms of you guys standing outside in the cold and seeing teachers walk past you to go into school, that's happening because there's a bell time issue, and they changed the bell times and they put the tiers of the schools out of whack. So it's causing you guys to have to come outside at 5:30 to get on the bus to get to a school that isn't even open yet, and they can't even make staff open the door and let you guys in because staff belongs to Local 2250, and they are not obligated to watch you guys until class starts. So it's a very rough predicament to be in, and that's one predicament that I hope that you can be influential in to your fellow students and help them, get those situations rectified. Good luck to you, man. Much blessings.
Thank you so much, Sid. We appreciate you coming. Did you have something that you want to say really quick?
If I had to like leave anything, I would definitely say student advocacy hasn't been always easy. I want to say, but definitely the things that I'll say, and I keep mentioning, is just stay politically aware for students right now. And the one thing is, I'm trying to get some things out there in that term. Get ready to have my own advisory council and just watching, trying to take as much from the current the board as I can right now. As of right now, I think Aisha Boy has until May. I want to say May 30th or 31st, before June 1st, to officially pick a new superintendent or keep Dr. Joseph if she chooses to. So that's definitely something that we're looking at in the county right now. So that's basically the biggest thing is seeing if it's going to be a new superintendent, anything's going to change in the county, and just keeping the students up on that.
Mhm. We appreciate you so much for coming on, and I'm going to extend an open invite to you anytime that you need to come on a Wednesday evening to air out some grievances or to educate the public. You are more than welcome, or any of your the student members are more than welcome to come on this show and talk to our audience, and try to help you get some resolve. Again, keep pushing, keep doing what you're doing. You're going to go far. Thank you so much for joining us, Ed.
Thank you so much.
Take care. All right, everybody. That was a very good introduction to the student member of the board. I am, like I say, I can't, express how gleeful I am seeing such a young advocate talking about budget deficits and infrastructure and CIPs. I mean, wow. Um,
You're
um,
no poly geek.
that excites me. That's all I can say. But yeah, we we're going to bring the
Can I,
sheriff on,
can
but
I,
we
can
pushed it back
we?
15 minutes. Go ahead.
I just wanted to kind of debrief, review. I like I think that because of social media, we get to see this seat in action in a way that we've never seen it before. Most people only would see the student member when they went to a school board meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the upside of his style, his leadership style, is that he will draw these young people into the conversation. And one of my criticisms of PGCPS for years has been the stifling of the students.
Mm-hmm.
When we were in school, the principal used to laugh at me and say, Ms. Reedy, are you coming by to tell me what I'm doing today? Because we were actively engaged. The class presidents met with the administrators. We had our class sponsor. Every class had someone that they could go to that sponsor before going to an administrative person or maybe a counselor. And there's something about the structure of the schools now that puts too many barriers between students, parents, community, and the administration people, and then the people at Sasser, right? And we even knew the superintendent when I was in high school. He would come by, say hello to us. I didn't have my daughter was very active at Douglas, but it still was a different culture. They had a very engaged student body, but the leadership of the school encouraged that. It's not the culture of the school system. Years ago, when they started shutting PTAs out, is when you started seeing this disconnect between the students, the community, and the schoolhouse. And so I'm hoping that his boldness, because that's what it is, his boldness
Very much so.
is going to tip and redirect PGCPS. And I hope nobody gets in his way. And so I commend him. I'm really excited about that. It's my kind of advocacy.
My kind of carrying on. We don't have the sheriff on yet. And that's my doing. I pushed him back 15 minutes because I want to make sure we gave student member of the board an opportunity to address us, and didn't know if we would run over or not. But I guess until he comes on, I can go ahead and do a brief report um, for what I was going to talk about later. Yeah, I still don't see him on. Okay, so here we go. And I am going to be doing I guess, a part two to my conversation and discussion on the budget, because the first time I broke it down and told you that, there were still in a structural deficit. And I'm going to go further into this conversation and talk about why. So, Prince George's County residents keep asking the same question: why does everything feel more expensive while services feel worse? And after reading through the county's own fiscal year 27 budget documents, I think residents deserve a very honest conversation about where their government is heading financially. Now, first, let's clear something up. Prince George's County is not broke, but what these documents show is something potentially more dangerous long term: a government whose expenses are starting to permanently outpace the revenues, what revenues can comfortably sustain. Now, that is what they mean when they use the phrase structural imbalance. And yes, the phrase is actually inside the county's own financial reports. What that means in plain English is, even during decent economic years, even when revenues come in stronger than expected, the county still has underlying fiscal pressures growing faster than the money coming in. And those pressures are not small. Debt payments are rising, healthcare obligations are rising, pension obligations pension obligations are rising, labor costs are rising, infrastructure costs are rising. Meanwhile, the county has um, limits on how much revenue it can raise because of the tax caps and political realities. So eventually, something has to give. And this is where residents need to pay attention, because structural deficits do not show up overnight. You don't wake up one morning and suddenly government collapses. What actually happens is slower. Maintenance gets delayed, positions stay vacant longer, equipment replacement gets pushed back, projects get deferred, and departments start operating leaner. Fees start increasing, services starts changing, and residents are already seeing pieces of this whether they realize it or not. Take solid waste, for example. Everybody remembers the uproar over trash pickups and the discussion surrounding that. People were angry and still are angry. People felt like services were being taken away. But what many residents did not understand is that the county's own budget documents now openly describe the solid waste fund as operating in a structural deficit. And this is not my language, it's theirs. And according to the report, the unrestricted balance of the fund is projected to hit negative $92 million by fiscal year 27. Negative 92 million for trash, recycling, landfill operations, core environmental services, and the report flat out says neither the department nor OMB articulated a clear plan that would significantly reduce the deficit. That should concern people, because when these deficits continue growing, government eventually starts making survival decisions instead of strategic decisions. And the report explains exactly how we got here: years of below market tipping fees, aging landfill systems, equipment failures, operational costs is increasing, deferred financial pressures, and revenue problems. In other words, the bills keep getting pushed down the road. And now the county is raising landfill tipping fees again. Now, why should the average residents care about any of this? Simple: because governments only have so much leverage they can pull. If cost keeps rising faster than the sustainable revenue growth, then eventually residents will experience one or more of the following: higher fees, higher taxes, reduced services, delayed infrastructure repairs, longer response time, deferred maintenance, or additional borrowing. And some of that is already happening. No, thank you. Um, the county's debt service alone is increasing by over $20 million in one fiscal year. And according to the county's own projections, Prince George's may exceed its self-imposed debt policy limit within several years. And that matters because once government starts approaching borrowing limits, financial flexibility shrinks. And when flexibility shrinks, everything's get harder. Road projects become harder, facility upgrades become harder, equipment replacement becomes harder, emergency spending becomes harder, and then residents start asking, why does everything feel slower? This is why. And another thing residents should understand, a lot of this does not happen dramatically. Again, it happens quietly. One delayed repair here, one postponed project there, one department operating short staff, one increases in fees, one service adjustment, until eventually the public realizes they're paying more for a government struggling harder and harder to keep up. And that is the real danger of structural deficits. It's not an immediate collapse, it's slow erosion. And Prince George's County should not be comfortable with slow erosion, not with our location, not with our tax base, and not with our economic potential. This county has too many advantages to constantly feel financially strained. And this is why accountability matters, because someone has to ask whether spending decisions are sustainable. Somebody has to ask whether projects are producing real return on our investments. And somebody has to ask whether long-term liabilities are being honestly addressed instead of politically delayed. Because the longer structural problems are ignored, fewer painless solutions remain. I'm Sherman Hardy, and this is CAG Chat.
Oh man, Sherman, you know what? When I was growing up, I was a fan of Jim Vance on News Center 4. I would come home every day from school and make sure I caught his commentary. Paul Berry on Channel 7, he started one of the first On Your Side community reporting where they would investigate issues. I didn't watch Channel 9, so I don't remember who did their commentary. But I love how you just take an issue and you just throw it out there and, I'm Sherman Hardy. So I do have two comments or one comment on two of the points that you made, because I don't think that people recognize in everyday terms that when they start talking about housing affordability and rent control, that we are sending a message that is not that we are an affluent county. Lately, people have been saying, we're an affluent county, we're an affluent county. I heard that like 3 times at an event recently, at a forum. And two of the things you mentioned that drain our budget is social services and solid waste. When the decision was made to do a 1-day trash pickup, it was not a how can we save money decision. It was very well thought out. It was researched. The Federal Department of Environment was involved. Like, they did their due diligence, right? And because when you get, and the other thing is that they study trash habits. People did not use both days of the services, right? And so it was becoming wasteful. But when you get increased population, you're going to get increased trash. And so that's like a never ending cycle. With social services, as we continue to become attractive to people who want to live here because our rents are lower than most in the area, we're going to be spending more money. Our school system is about 75% low income to poverty. Those kids live somewhere. And then when you start to see people of means leave the county, that means they're not spending their money here, and they're paying more. We don't get as much taxes. Yes, the property taxes are a burden to those in the middle level, but think about it. As more people leave out, and now we're going into a foreclosure situation, we're not going to be making the money. So I really appreciated what you shared. And I think people need to really hear budget matters in a very plain layperson manner so that they can better understand
Yeah.
that
And
it ain't
how
a
this
magic, it ain't
translates. Yeah.
right. What our people used to say, money don't grow on trees.
It surely doesn't. Because if it did, I would have a few of them.
Right. And we wouldn't be cutting them down to build houses.
People be robbing each other's trees. Can y'all hear
Okay,
me?
well, yes, I hear you now.
Okay, I just want to say something. Very great comment, Kevin. And one thing I
Okay.
want people to understand is in this current budget, we have that deficit spreading out through 2032. So y'all need to really look at that budget. We don't got no zero budget. They just buried it into the numbers. So you can't tell until if she gets elected, it'll be in her lame duck bag.
Yeah, it'll definitely be. A lot of this will definitely show up after the election, quite honestly. But we are joined by Sheriff Carr. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I am happy that we have finally got you on. It's definitely been a couple of years since we've said, yeah, we got to get the sheriff on. So we have the sheriff on.
Yes, good evening. How's everybody today? And thank you for having me on because I've been asking for quite some time. As many people may not know, as far as what we do at the sheriff's office and just some of the good work that we're doing in the community, always wanted to make sure I was able to come on here, especially as we talk about accountability and just talk about the county as a whole. So thank you for having me on.
Absolutely.
Well, well, thank you for joining us. Since Mr. Hardy is a candidate in the elections, he doesn't tend to participate in these conversations, but I did
Not this
send
go
you
round.
I did send you some talking points, and so we'll just start out with the basics. Who is John Carr? Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? How'd you decide to go into law enforcement, and why did you choose to be a sheriff?
Okay, well, thank you. That's a lot. So, born in Washington, D.C., and grew up here in Prince George's County in Suitland. So, I did attend Bishop McNamara when it was all boys. So, that tells you how long ago it was. After Bishop McNamara, I actually went to University of Maryland, College Park, where I majored in criminology, criminal justice. Thought I wanted to actually be an attorney and be a lawyer. So, started to work at a law firm in civil law as a paralegal. Didn't like it. Didn't like not actually interacting with the community. So said, you know what? I'm going to go federal. I'm going to try federal government. Thought about going to DEA, but before I wanted to go to DEA or federal, I said, let me try local. So I started back in 2002 with the Prince George's County Sheriff's Office. So I've been there 24 years. Worked in every unit. Actually worked my way through the ranks. Actually serving as an assistant sheriff or colonel for Sheriff Melvin High before he retired. Actually worked under 3 sheriffs. So I got hired under Al Black. So that tells you how long ago. I remember we were at the Holmes building up in Marlboro. That's when I came on. So Sheriff Al Black, Sheriff Mike Jackson, and then Sheriff Melvin High. So been lucky enough to work up under those 3 leaders. Understand the community. As like I said before, I grew up here in Prince George's County, so I remember how public safety and how I viewed law enforcement back then. It was a place that if you were a person of color, there were certain times, certain places you can't go, or that you would actually be on the side of that curb and they'll be asking you questions. So actually starting this job at the sheriff's office, I was able to actually work with our community, see exactly what the needs are. The Office of the Sheriff, we pretty much are specialized. We focus on domestic violence, child support, landlord, tenant, and civil. Of course, you see us in the courthouse, circuit and district, but we also have a fugitive unit that travels outside of the state. We also have a a wonderful, wonderful community group now that we have. Of course, we have our explorers, but we're also in the middle schools. It's called our Aspiring Young Minds program, something that we wanted to make sure that we were able to do. Since taking office, I actually created 2 different bureaus, a Bureau of Professional Accountability and also a Bureau for Domestic Violence, which encompasses our mental health division. That is something that we've never had before. So we now have a mental health division that focuses on serving our emergency petitions, working with our nonprofits and working with our hospitals. As we know, our hospital wait times are significant. So we wanted to make sure that we were able to provide some long-term care for some of these individuals. I always say this as I talk to folks. I mean, we came into contact with a gentleman 25 times in 3 months. So
Wow.
it just shows that we need long-term care. Instead of just taking them to the hospital, they stay there for a few days. They seem to be back on their meds. They seem to be okay. These people are suffering from a mental health crisis. It's not a criminal act. It's a mental health crisis. And I truly believe that we need to make sure that we approach it as such in a kinder, gentler, and a better way that we can actually have wraparound services and that criminalize mental health. And we see that is definitely on the rise, not only here in Prince George's County, but really throughout the country. So that is something I'm very proud of. Actually having our Bureau for Domestic Violence, we're now able to actually spread throughout the county. So there is something that I work with our current administration that we will be expanding that role instead of just the central part of the county. Your Suitlands, your District Heights, Capitol Heights, we'll now be, spreading out. Our next avenue, what we're looking at trying to do is spread to the southern part of the county. We were looking for the high volume and high call areas in which we not only serve peace and protective orders, but we will be running 911 calls. And I'm also in the process of trying to make sure that we're able to investigate that from beginning to end. Currently, right now, many people always ask, what's the separation between the police department and the sheriff's office? We do not have investigative authority. So when you have a crime, we do not investigate those crimes. It is something that we were able to take a report, but then we would have to forward that information over to the Prince George's County Police Department for their investigations as they have an investigative bureau. But
Hold
I
on.
want to make sure.
Take a breath. Take a
Okay.
breath. 'Cause
Okay.
You just hit on where I was gonna ask next is what is the difference between the work of PGPD and the Sheriff's Department? And so
Sheriff's
you just
Office.
said, I mean, Sheriff's Office, sorry, you just said that you don't have investigative privileges. But when we call 911, do we get the sheriff deputy sometimes, or will it always be the police department? Can you kind of just help us out with the difference?
So it will be based on the nature of the call. So
Okay.
currently, right now, if you're in the central part of the county, that Suitland area, Capitol Heights, District Heights, if you dial 911 and it's domestic related, it's what we call George and Henry sector, you would actually get the Prince George's County Sheriff's Office responding to that domestic call. Our investigative authorities are only, they're limited to the actual courthouse or actually dealing with just the agency itself. So that's one of the things that I'm trying to make sure we change. Because as I'm pretty sure you hear, the Prince George's County Police Department is definitely looking to add to their complement. I believe they're around 300 or 400 short as far as their full complement. We need force maximizers. We need to work together instead of working in our silos and saying, well, my agency only does this. We need to be working together. And what better way for us to work together if we are able to assist them in investigations and assist them in calls for service?
So what does that look like when it comes to, now let me back up. You mentioned that if you're in certain areas of the county, the sheriff department will respond to a DV call. Why is it that if somebody has a situation in Bowie, well, we know Bowie has their own police, so that might be a bad example. Let's say Upper Mar, well, everybody
In
has their
one
own police
jurisdiction and not the
But see,
department.
other.
the fact that you're saying that shows you as far as the force multiplier. You're looking at a lot of our municipalities already have law enforcement agencies that
Right, I
actually
hadn't
do,
thought
especially
about that.
if you go to Laurel, they do their own investigations. You go to Greenbelt, they do theirs. Hyattsville, they do their investigations. So again, we're not trying to take anything from the police department. They're the primary here in Prince George's County. I just want to make sure that the sheriff's office is able to focus on our court mandated functions. When I say court mandated functions, these are things that we specialize in. These are things that when you look at the Family Justice Center and when you go to those domestic calls, they're going to have to go to court because they're dealing with some sort of protective order as far as relief, or they may be dealing with child custody, in which we deal with, or they're dealing with some sort of custody issue where the sheriff's office we're going to have to go back out, either serve a protective order, a civil paper. There's going to be some sort of contact with us. Why not start it from beginning to end? Why not make sure that our citizens are able to, instead of telling one agency and then they refer them over to the courts, then we come back out, then you tell us, and you keep going to 2 and 3 different agencies, why not focus on just that one? So when we look at trying to spread that out, what I'm trying to do is, especially when it comes to domestics, and that's what I want to focus on, domestics, that you have a beginning and an end where you don't have to talk about your trauma each and every time, that you can actually have something streamlined. And I definitely know that our partners, Prince George's County Police Department, will be integral in that, because again, they have a larger force than what we have. Total, sworn and civilian for the sheriff's office, 393 people. 393 people to cover the whole county, dealing with civil, dealing with warrants, dealing with domestic violence, dealing with mental health. This is something to where our agency has not grown. And then since I've taken office, we have grown in our civilian complement and somewhat our sworn complement. But we need to actually look at the population and figure out exactly what are the needs of the community when it comes to public safety. Because even 1,700, I believe, is the complement for the police department. They need way more than just 1,700, when we look at that. So that's something that we're trying to make sure that we work smart and not just hard and just try to just throw, hey, give me more, give me more, give me more. How can we be more efficient? How can we be more effective in serving our citizens? Because you don't want to hear the fact that, hey, this shift is running short. You don't want to hear the fact that, hey, we didn't get a chance to serve this because we bogged down with anything else. And that's one thing that I'm really pushing towards our men and women in the sheriff's office. These orders that we get are much more than just papers. These are actually somebody's life that you're dealing with.
Right. So so you say you have 393?
And that is to include myself, sworn and civilian. For our
So
sworn
how many
complement, we're at
sworn?
263.
Okay. So what would be your ideal staffing number on the sworn officer side?
So I want to make sure that we're able to, instead of me just throwing a number out there, I want to make sure that it's tied to something. When we look at how many citizens we have, when we look at calls to service, when we look at how many orders we're receiving from the court, we look at, okay, how long does it take this deputy to serve this civil paper? And then we look at how many civil papers we're receiving. So then you can actually come and say, here's what we have and here's what we need. I actually had a staff study done recently, and they're looking at close to 400 to 500 for us to do what we need to be doing. So you're looking at maybe another 100 or 200. So not adding on to what we have. I would love that, but I want to, if we were able to actually add maybe another 200 or so. We just had a meeting today with the judiciary in Washington County through the Maryland Sheriff's Association, where there is a law and a mandate coming down in 2029 that every sheriff's office, as we do security of the court, we have to have 2 deputies to every criminal courtroom, 1 deputy to every civil courtroom, and 1 deputy to every 4 courtrooms to monitor the hallway. We have a courthouse that is probably one of the busiest, not only here in the state, but also really on the East Coast. Last month alone, we serviced almost 4,800 or so citizens actually came into Upper Marlboro Courthouse alone, just Upper Marlboro. So when we look at that, we need to start to see exactly how we can be efficient, how we can be effective, and then we can start talking about, hey, well, here's what we need as far as manpower, and here's what we need as far as equipment. I never just want to ask you for money unless I can actually show you why I need it, how we would use it, and show you, hey, here are the numbers showing that if we had these individuals, here's what we can do in order to make sure that we're able to address any of the deficiencies.
So I was at one of the forums. Sheriff Carr is up for re-election, and he has, I guess, 2 opponents right now. And the one opponent who was there was pointing out the morale of the department. And you and I have talked offline about your challenges, or, everybody is in transformation. I would say that's what it is. It's not really transition, because transition just takes you from one place to the next place. I would say that we are all in spaces of transformation, which means we're growing, we're evolving, we're making changes as we go. So when it's pointed out that morale is low, what is your take on that criticism?
So I take that and I take it very seriously when you talk about morale. But I want to make sure when you go to any law enforcement agency and you want to talk about morale, you'll get a lot of the officers or deputies say, you know, hey, this could be better, that could be better. What I say is that right now we're going through a culture change. So as my predecessor left, that administration and what he, you know, put in place was a foundation. We're now changing that. We're now expanding that. So you're looking at when we talk about our deputies, are they used to change? Are they used to being able to handle, hey, we're doing something different now? And I want to throw this out there as well. If you remember, when Sheriff Melvin High actually took office after his first term, he had an opponent from within the agency, and the union supported that opponent. That was Mr. Kendall Wade. So you know, we struggle a little bit when it comes to change. We struggle a little bit when it comes to, when I say we're a young agency, I promoted a lot of those officials and middle management that they weren't middle management at that time. So now you're coming up where you don't only take the rank, you don't only get that money, but there comes responsibility. And I have to hold you accountable for that responsibility. You can't say the sheriff didn't allow, the sheriff did, the sheriff. I don't deal with a lot of the day-to-day operations. When it comes to your service and to the community, my expectation is that you're going to be show respect, empathy. You're going to work with folks, and don't tell me, well, hey, we just can't do it. Well, why? Well, okay, and if you say you can't do it, well, tell me what do you need in order to get it done so we can do that. So I'm changing that culture to make sure that hey, you just can't give me, oh well, hey, we just can't do this. Oh yeah, well, we didn't do this before. I need more. The citizens need more. The citizens want to know that, hey, you have an agency that cares about them. And that's what makes us a little bit different from any other law enforcement. We're in office. I have to answer to the citizens. So if you, for all 4 years, it just wasn't during the election, but all 4 years, we've been out in the community. We've been making sure that we do more things. We have a Saturday Academy. We now have a Citizens Academy, which we've never had a Citizens Academy in the 330 years of the Sheriff's Office. We make sure that we do our Silver Circle, in which we go to our senior citizens' homes and we actually speak with them about scams. I want to make sure that you see us outside of just the courthouse or when we have a warrant or when we have a paper to serve. That's what our citizens need, especially when you talk about domestic violence, mental health. You're talking about our juveniles and what they're dealing with. We play a role in that. And, you know, I'm trying to make sure that our folks understand that. And we can't go backwards. We can't go back to just doing the same old stuff that we did before. And if you heard, that's what my one of my opponents is saying is, hey, I want to get back to our court mandated functions. Well, we never stopped. So when you say that, you just want to focus on, and they talk about warrants. We can't just focus on warrants. We're not going to rest our way out of this. A lot of these issues are social issues within the home. And until we address those issues, we're going to keep doing this stuff over and over and over again. And we have to start to be smart and try to address those issues so that they don't have to go to court on a consistent basis. We have to be more proactive.
Right. Okay, well, I'm going to open up the conversation to my colleagues. Anybody have a comment or yes, or question?
I do. Okay, Tommy.
Yes. Yes. I'm gonna be honest, I love it. I love having a SRO if it's used correctly and right. The purpose of the SRO is really for mentorship and really working with the students, making sure that they have that first contact with public safety. When I was in Largo, it was a rough start in the beginning, but then we were able to develop relationships. And I still see some of those kids to today. And now they're parents, they have kids. And just to see a positive relationship that we can have with public safety, because that's one thing. If we talk about replenishing our ranks, we have to make sure that we foster that relationship with our youth. You don't expect people to actually put a uniform on and have a gun and a badge and just say one day, hey, I want to do this. A lot of this starts from when they interact with law enforcement many, many years before. And that's why we're in the middle schools and we're actually teaching in the middle schools. But in the high schools, what I want to do is, and we've been working with the Prince George's County Public Schools, we have a MOU, and we've also talked about having some sort of public safety academy getting these kids at 18 and then bringing them into our agency with a cadet program. For us, it would be dealing with our building security, $45,000 starting out with full benefits. You tell me somebody at 18 years of age with just a high school diploma can actually start out making $45,000, making these connections. And once they turn 20 in 3 months or 20 in 6 months, you're able to actually bring them on if they want to be in uniform. If not, they have other options. And it's all about connections and who you know and what you're doing as far as fostering that interest in public safety. That's the only way we're going to replenish our ranks. Yes, the DARE program is around. I can't speak to if the Prince George's County Police actually do it. I know we had DARE instructors, but currently right now we do not have anybody that is DARE certified. But that was a wonderful program as we're trying to inform kids. But I think our biggest thing is we got to work with parents and work with our families. When I talk about like domestic violence and stuff, a lot of our families and even our youth, they don't know what a positive or healthy relationship looks like.
Right.
You know, some of the stuff that we look at is what, is normal. It shouldn't be normal. It shouldn't be considered normal. You know, when you smell marijuana and you're dropping off the kids at the middle school level, and that's the new cologne right now. That's what it seems like. There's no possible way that you can drop off a child from middle school and the car's still smoked out and you thinking that this child is going to be successful. So we have to really focus on our family, see exactly what resources they need. That's one of the reasons why I've been working with a nonprofit to help out with our Saturday Academy and teach them social skills. And we don't only not only teach the youth, we also have the parents there. The parents need to be along so they understand that, and we actually provide a stipend for them. So Vision Quest is the nonprofit organization that is working with us. I'm very appreciative for all the work that they do, but we're able to bring people in. We also have a summer youth program in which we do it with athletics, and that's mentorship through athletics, and that is a wonderful program as well. So I completely agree with you, but I definitely think that as public safety, we need to be a little bit more engaged. Like our fire department, they have a wonderful fire program in Gwen Park and Charles Flowers, in which they can actually replenish their ranks and those kids can get certifications. I just think that's the direction that we need to be going in public safety.
Thank you. Derek?
Well, I don't mean any disrespect whatsoever when I call this brother Big John. John, if you still got any turbos left in them legs, y'all probably don't know, but John could run pretty fast back in the day. He and I trained together, running track. When I was training for the Olympics, and John came out and trained, and man, I just want to say I'm super, super proud to see where you are. This John from the early 20s, John, I met back in the day. So that's awesome, man. But my first question to you is mental health is very important nowadays. And I heard you mention mental health. Um, I assume that you're speaking in terms of mental health for the people that you have to deal with in the community in terms of you being the sheriff, and that's great because I'm glad to hear that you know that people who are out there that may be doing something not right in society could have some mental issues that they need help. But how does that fare for the actual employees that work with you in terms of if they're on at work and have some mental issues going on? Do you have an avenue for them to get help as well?
That is a wonderful question, and I'm glad you answered that. So we're suffering, and when I say we're suffering, I'm talking about just from public safety as a whole. And I will even speak even to my agency currently right now, and that's one of the reasons why we've been taking steps. Mental health still has that stigma of weakness, You still have that stigma of you don't want people to know that you are suffering, and that's something we need to change, especially when it comes to public safety. One of the reasons why is because you don't want somebody to think that you're unable to do the job. Two, you don't want to be taken out of service. Three, you want to make sure that you're able to provide for your family. So is everybody here knows, and it's not a secret, but a lot of our deputy sheriffs and police officers, a lot of people work secondary employment. And they don't want to lose that secondary employment. That's another income that they have in their homes. But what happens when that person is going through a divorce? What happens when they're dealing with their own kids or dealing with well, their loved ones who may need assistance? It wears on you. And when you deal with this, we see we see people when they're not their best. And when you see that on a consistent day-to-day basis, I mean, I can give you everything that we do. You can't name outside of our community and our youth programs anything that you would say, oh, that's a very positive thing. When you deal with warrants, when you deal with child support, when you deal with domestic violence, these are things where people, it's very emotionally charged. These people, they have a lot of issues going on, and you have to address and you have to deal with that. You're not only serving that order, but you're dealing with that. So you carry a lot of that on yourself. Unfortunately, since I've been in office, we actually had one of our members who passed away or transitioned because of a suicide. And that's one of the things where, I don't want anybody to suffer in silence. So we have been able to, and currently right now, I'm happy to say, it's been a battle, but we've been able to get a actual psychologist on staff. So we'll have that clinical technician on staff just for our agency, for our sworn and civilian. We also have a program in which we were able to obtain a grant through the federal government called Rantania, in which we're able to address some of those mental issues. They're able to go through this program. They receive supplements. They're able to talk to somebody, and they have actual readings as far as their brain to actually address PTSD, to actually address insomnia, to actually address a lot of the other issues that you see when it comes to dealing with a stressful job. So we're moving in the right direction. But I would tell you, this is something that we definitely have to monitor in public safety, because a lot of people are suffering in silence. And these people who wear uniforms, they're going through the same things that the citizens are going through. They're no different. So when you look at somebody, you have to understand exactly, hey, I need to move this person and put them in a unit that may not be forward facing because they need a break. They have some things going on in their own life that they need to address. And that's something that I'm very serious about. So when we do see those signs, we make sure that we get right on it, and we offer that EAP, of course, that employee assistance program, in which the person is actually able to speak to a clinical technician. So we're definitely moving in the right direction with that. But I think we need definitely more resources when it comes to mental health, or from citizens even to public safety.
And one more quick thing, Lamar. I heard you speak in terms of all the things that you were doing with the students and the parents and the public, and and I'm glad you hit that. But that was kind of my second question: is um, people? Some people are afraid of the police. Some children have disdain for the police because they're watching the wrong movies, or they hear their boys, talk about, man, we don't like the popo or whatever. I've heard some of the things that you're already doing with children and with families to close that gap. And I think that's a great thing, because I think people's basic mindset of when they see police officers or sheriffs is that, I don't even want to be bothered. I don't like the popo or whatever. So, I like hearing you talk about some of the things that you guys are doing to be out there in the community, to let people say, hey, look, I'm human just like you are. Yes, I do wear this uniform, and I am going to hold you accountable, but I'm cool. I'm okay. And I'm saying it because as a grown
Approachable.
Black man, I've walked past police officers before, and I say, "Hey, how you doing, bro?" And it's like they look at you like, "Don't speak to me," and it gives an atmosphere of, well, Dad, they don't want to be approached when I respect what you do. That's why I'm speaking to you. So it's good to hear that you say you guys are acting or interacting with the community to give them a better feel about what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, but we also have to change that us against, them. We have to change that. Just because you're in this career field does not mean that you're not part of the community. And that's one thing that we're talking about changing. That's where I keep saying we're in a flux right now. When you talk about morale, we're changing that. I don't want you just to only hang around folks that are in public safety and law enforcement. You have a life outside of that. We've all grown up with somebody who may not be on the right side of the law. But does that mean that you don't speak to that person because of that? Now, I understand associations, but you're still that same person. You're still there to help people. You're still there to talk to people. Even if somebody walks by you and you say hello, you never know what that may mean to somebody. I can tell you, being at Largo, some of those kids, if I ever needed something or I ever was in trouble, some of them kids would jump in and try to fight themselves and try to help me out. That's the relationship that you want to develop, is that to know that, hey, we're in this together. So when you have an issue or you have a problem, we're approachable. I'll listen to you. We'll try to address it as best as possible. And of course, we're not always going to agree, but the issue is we need to make sure that we're there to help. And when we leave that situation, we made it better and not worse. And that's where I'm making sure that our deputy sheriffs understand that. And for our younger folks coming in, I mean, they're hungry. They want to. They understand that communication is key. You need to listen before you actually can start to give orders, and you need to figure out exactly what's going on. So I am happy about that and working with that. But also, when you talk about law enforcement, it starts young. How many times we've been in a store and the parent say, hey, you better stop. I'm gonna get him to lock you up.
Right.
It gives that whole impression of that's what we're here for. And we have to try to change that narrative. That's not the only thing that we do in our careers and our I don't even like using the word just law enforcement. Yes, we enforce laws, but we're there for much more things. And I think our role in the community has expanded, and we've not been prepared because some of that stuff is not really on public safety. It really needs to be on us as a community, especially when it comes to the parents, when they say, hey, we can't, correct, the behavior of our child because you're going to lock us up. No, we're not. I'd rather you try to address that in your home, or you try to address that and we try to assist and help you with it, than you just leave it out to us. And then now we have this child out at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday in a stolen vehicle. That's a problem.
So thank you for that transition, because I had two more questions, and one was I wanted your take on what's her name, Jean Period, whatever her name is, from the people
For federal,
in
yes.
town, the federal person. Yeah, I don't want to give them any kudos, but I said years ago that we could curtail youth violence if we engage the parents at first offense, right? And I was told it, I don't know if they called me a communist or a socialist or a fascist. I don't remember what they called me, but they said, you can't make a parent go to counseling because their child, and I said, because a child is not going to do something just because they woke up and decided to do it. There's something that was triggering that behavior. We know that kids start selling drugs because mama needs some help with the bills. And she always said, I'm the man of the house, right? So there's socio-cultural things that contribute to youth behavior. So what is your take on parental responsibility for the children's reaction and, the curfews that are being imposed, particularly at National Harbor? I know that's a little bit maybe outside of the work of the sheriff department, but if you have this partnership model, you're very much a voice in the conversation. So if you could just address that.
Yeah, so definitely a voice in the conversation, only because, again, we deal with them, especially when they go to the juvenile courts. We're still dealing with them as well. But I would be in agreement with you on that. I think when we look at our parents, we start to see that they are struggling, and there needs to be some sort of accountability. And that accountability, as we talk to our parents about what goes on, there's no guidelines, there's no books on how to raise a child. You're looking at back in the 80s, when we had that crack era, during that time frame, the drug era, a lot of those kids who were growing up then are now grandparents. So do you think they had that foundation and structure if they lived the life or they were dealing with that? They don't. And it's a lot of parents, period. Just because you have a child doesn't mean you know how to raise that child. I have kids, and even though I may be the sheriff, hey, I have my ups and downs and I'm trying to navigate it as well as anybody else. But I do believe that we need to make sure when we talk about the resources and holding our parents accountable, that we understand exactly where they are. I don't believe that you should fine the parents just because their child did something, because if I'm already financially strapped, you
Right.
sending me a citation or finding me is not going to help the situation. You're now
Right.
adding on to it.
Right.
I don't believe that you're talking about incarcerating a parent, because you can't lock me up. I got multiple kids. So now you did that because, John was acting up. That doesn't work. So I do believe in something that somebody told me out in the community. We were over at Forest Creek, and they said, you know what, Sheriff? Uh, when we're in DC, DC puts programs and puts stuff in our face. Here in Maryland and Prince George's County, it seems like they take everything away. And that's something that resonated, or it stood with me. When we talk about our youth and we talk about our parents, if that child has been in trouble or dealing with it, or we know that they've had several run-ins with the judicial system, I truly believe that we now need to go and start to look at that home, see exactly what resources, and then we need to actually have not only just dealing with the youth, but we need to also have that parent right there.
Right.
So yeah, they acted up. That means, hey, you're gonna be right here on Saturday. I understand you got to work, but you need to be right here because this is going to help you in the long run. This is
Right.
something that we can actually do to make sure that you're able to do that. And as we talk about our youth, we just can't. I don't want to just put everything on them. I want to make sure that where are they going to go. When we came up, we went to the Go-Go's. We had different places to go. We were still in the Iverson Mall, Landover Mall. We still had, different movie theaters that we would go to. You go to Marlowe. I mean, you would go to so many different places,
Yeah.
even into the city. Where the kids going now?
Right.
Where is there? So I've always said this, and I said I would love to see somebody invest in one location that really caters towards the youth, allow us as public safety to really try to then focus our efforts to make sure that those kids are safe, where we would know who's coming in, who's coming out. We would have activities in reference to that to do. When I say activities, I mean, again, it's a lot of things that our youth, they love the music, they love hanging out. We just got to figure out a way to try to foster it in a positive relationship, because they're not going to the parks and recs like they used to. Everybody doesn't play sports like they used to. We used to always play sports. They don't play sports now. So we need to figure out a way that we can actually bring all of that together so that they can enjoy themselves, they can have fun, and we can make sure that they're safe.
Right. It sounds like Tanya wants to yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you on that point, and I can tell you, I think we are working towards that. But I'm gonna be honest, I truly believe that we were just working in silos, and I think that's what the issue is: that the right hand may not have known what the left hand was doing. When you look at public safety, we write up what they call the J1s, we do the juvenile stuff. We didn't take them in. You have the juvenile services; they'll address if they feel that this child should be moved up, then they would send it over to the state's attorney. But if not, they would actually address it and do a diversion type of program. There's so many different things. There's so many different folks. So when you look at social services and you look at some of those needs, how are they being notified? You know, who's doing the follow-up? How are we accounting? You know, have you actually paid attention that John Carr has came into contact with you know, these different agencies? Because if they came into contact with the sheriff's office, that doesn't mean the police department is going to automatically know. It doesn't mean that, you know, the state's attorney would know. It doesn't mean that, you know, family services. There's so many different things. So we're trying to break down those hurdles. And I think we're moving in the right direction with that because, again, one, it's been highlighted that, hey, there's an issue. When you see these videos of the fighting in school, fighting at parks, you know, and even some of those kids you see in the District of Columbia, trust and believe, we have kids going back and forth. They're transient, you know, it's just not one area. So now we have to address and deal with that. So I think it brings to attention to it that we have to do a better job in making sure that when we come into contact with people that we talk about it, that we work together. And I think we're trying to move in that direction.
So, I'm getting notes from my boss. Okay, so before I ask the other question, what is your what is your role in truancy? I know that Tanya asked about SROs, and I know that we've had leadership changes, we've had philosophical changes in PGCPS, we've had changes in the state's attorney's office. So where does the sheriff department fall since you all don't have a place in high schools? And I know a lot of times people key in on truancy as being teenagers, but we know that truancy starts in elementary school, right? And of course, it's because a lot of times of parents not getting their kids to school. Does the sheriff's office have a role in the truancy discussion or improvements? The PGCPS just did attendance ambassadors. They just launched a program with attendance ambassadors. And I know that the council did a truancy work group report. Were you a part of that, or what is your take on truancy?
So we are not a part of the truancy programs. We you know we've just not been in that role or in that I guess arena when it comes to that. A lot of that is dealing with the community officers and the SROs at the high school level in making sure that they do go to those McDonald's or Chick-fil-A's or go to areas that they see kids being out of school during this time frame, addressing and dealing with that. But currently, right now, we are not in that. And in order for us to get into that, I think that is more of a discussion in reference to us being more involved in the Prince George's County public school system as far as working with them and trying to see, hey, if it's something we can facilitate and help. Currently, right now, outside of the middle schools and outside of school activities, we don't really have any other involvement beside the mentorship programs and the stuff that we actually do. And that's the sheriff's office program. But that's pretty much where we are currently right now. When it does come to truancy, I think that is something that is very important. I know the state's attorney has a program. I know the school system is addressing that.
Somebody needs to,
Okay.
yeah, Tanya's in transit.
Yeah, it's okay.
So,
But I think that that's something that we definitely need to make sure that we focus on, because a lot of those kids, those are warning signs. Those are
right.
things that, and I know in the middle schools, we actually have the kids in our program. We do look at their attendance record, and we do look to see those variables to show, hey, before the program, during the program, and after the program. Now, my biggest thing is we have to be consistent and follow those kids all the way through. And as we talk about trying to really have a true truancy program for us, again, we have to get our numbers up before we're able to actually then be out and really look for the kids and really work with them. But while we're in the school, we're able to actually show variables as far as, hey, our contact and our interactions with them, now we see an improvement in their behavior. We see an improvement in them actually coming to school. So that's where we are currently right now.
Well, that's good. That's hope. That gives us hope for the high school. We know that a lot of children struggled after COVID. We have a recovery program for high school dropouts.
Yes.
And so there are a lot of factors involved. So last question, and then we'll let you give your closing commentary and let everybody know how they can follow you or contact you. Your agency hit the news in the past few days because your PIO, your public information officer, Taylor Thomas, was identified as having some nonprofit conflicts, funding conflict with the county. Want to give the floor to you to address it in whatever way you see fit.
Thank you. What I will say is it is an ongoing investigation. For those who may not know, the Banner News actually did a story on one of our employees who happened to be the head of our PIO section, who had a nonprofit outside, something completely separate, had that nonprofit before she was an employee of the Prince George's County Sheriff's Office, and received those funds, from my understanding, from the county. Now getting that information from the Banner, we unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but we had to take action. I have to hold our employees accountable for any possible allegations of impropriety or any wrongdoing or anything that may cause harm to the community. So currently right now, it is under investigation. Ms. Thomas has been suspended and placed on administrative leave. That was once the story actually came out. The paper actually said that the sheriff's office did not make a response. I do want to answer that, is that from the agency perspective, we did not get that information. So it did go to our PIO email or box, in which Ms. Thomas is responsible for managing. So that's the furthest thing I want to go and say with that. So we have to let it go through its due process. You know, everybody for us is proven innocent until proven, you know, guilty. So I don't want to say that, hey, there was some wrongdoing or anything. While Ms. Thomas has been working with us, she's done a wonderful job and helping us out with the Behind the Badge podcast and a few other things. So I want to give her just due. But there was some allegations, and we had to address those allegations because, again, anything where it's a possibility that the agency or any of our members are in the wrong, I want to make sure that we step out in front of it, we address it, we as transparent as possible, and we try to provide that information as far as what's going on. So that's as much as I can say about that. But again, we addressed it immediately once we were made aware, but we were made aware through the actual, I guess, banner or their actual post that we actually came into contact with.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And so unless anybody has another comment or question, we're gonna let,
Well, yeah, no, I was just gonna say, make sure you let them be able to close out.
okay,
Okay.
what I tell y'all. So we can let you do your closeout if you want to let people know how to find you in your professional capacity or in your candidacy, whatever you feel comfortable with, by all means, let the people know.
Okay, I want to start off with the agency because, again, I've always been about the community and I want to make sure that people understand exactly what we're doing. Since taking office, actually created a more interactive website. So if our citizens could go to pgsheriff.com, it actually lists warrants, writs on hand as far as eviction writs, sheriff sales. We do have some bugs, but you would actually be able to look up information yourself and get that information real time. So we are working through that. It also has frequently asked questions. So if you have a question, whether it be dealing with the sheriff's office, you're able to actually go there. And it also gives our actual phone numbers and also email addresses. So please go to pgsheriff.com. When it comes to my reelection candidacy, I want to make sure folks are able to go to vote for johndbcarr.com. And you also are able to go to vote for John D.B. Carr through Facebook or any other media streams, and it would actually give us, you'll give anybody, citizens, cell phone numbers, email addresses. We're always looking for volunteers. So, you know, my candidacy is really about the community and really about trying to change the narrative and change the culture when it comes to public safety and really making sure that we're able to try to address the needs of our citizens.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for getting on and sharing all the things that our people need to know. So we wish you well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Anytime you guys have a question or anything, by all means, please let me know so I can fill you in, because I definitely believe that transparency and us giving the information and you getting factual information, you're now understanding all of these moving pieces. So anything that I can do, I'm always here. And thank you again for allowing me to be on this platform.
Of course, no problem. And you'll probably be
Mhm.
seeing our name come across a few other documents that need to be served. So we
You
appreciate you
keeping me busy, huh? You keeping me busy.
and funding the county, apparently. You know, it costs to do this stuff a lot too. Thank you so much, Sheriff, for coming on. We truly appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. You guys have a good evening.
Have a good
Thanks,
night.
man.
All right.
Good night. All right. So what happened?
You busy?
Well, you know, that's what what was it? The county attorney told the judge that in Charles County. He was like, what did he say, Levon? Oh yeah, he has several lawsuits.
Uh-huh.
Which
So,
one?
right, which one? So yeah, that was really good. Um, you know, everything that we have today is rooted in history. And I would just encourage people to go and learn more about the governmental entities and how these things came to be, why we have a sheriff's department versus a police department, why we have at-large council seats now versus not having them, only for people to not know that the council was majority at-large seats at its conception. Do your research, ask questions, be polite. We don't have to agree. But when you disagree out of ignorance, then it becomes personally offensive. And I like the fact that the sheriff is always available, no matter when you go out. And this is not me, pushing him as a candidate, but just from the public facing side of it, he has been that person that says, call me if you have a question. You can approach him publicly and address whatever. And he's always been gracious. And so if we could have that across the board, if people could know their jobs, one of the reasons we are hosting people to come on this show is so that you all can learn more about what their responsibilities are and not what is promoted as being, what people feel like doing. You all, there's a gray area about the role of our government officials. And it is creating chaos, confusion, and corruption.
And division.
Right. And we're just here to engage, educate, enlighten. We just want y'all to go out here and put your best
And be
foot
great.
forward.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Be great.
Just demand better. If you don't want less than in your household, then you shouldn't want less than where you pay your taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to move past personality politics. I don't know Sheriff Carr from beyond, like I said, seeing him out in the community. A lot of these people I don't know beyond seeing them in the community or in, political official spaces. We are not people who are breaking bread and drinking beer and eating crabs with them on the weekend. We ain't going to the baby showers and the weddings, and that's not what we're doing. Right. We're not doing that. And so um this is not high school, y'all. We are in life and death times, and people are out here struggling. Okay?
Yeah.
It's sad.
No, we didn't talk about it.
No, doesn't she have a meeting tomorrow night, a virtual meeting? Yeah.
Why is it fake? Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
While she's spending y'all's money in Las Vegas. I think so. Or maybe they come back tomorrow. Look at that picture.
Well, if Derek would stop tapping the phone, I wouldn't have to change the. I'm gonna put a black screen.
Free LeBron, you're not the only one who gets on.
It is a painful
Please
way.
get
We are in a painful state.
birthing pains. I told y'all I felt the church like the church flow was gonna open up when she was up there talk about zero budget and closed a structural budget deficit. I thought the ground was gonna swallow her straight through it.
Mm.
Hmm. Thank you. Mhm. Precedents.
Yep. Because that's what the public wanted. They wanted that. Right.
Hmm. And and we screamed and hollered at the wind about that too. Oh, Ty, they said they can't hear you. I said for whatever reason they said they can't hear you. No,
The
the
Facebook people can't
yeah,
hear.
the Facebook people says they can't hear.
What she
Um,
said was these people have us $250 million
hold on a second.
in debt, and that the county executive is blowing smoke, having this pseudo virtual meeting tomorrow night where she gonna regurgitate the process of this, right, of the selection committee, of the selection process for the superintendent, and that the CFO that they got rid of had, but she came back, but they tried to, yeah, they tried to blame her. It's so funny how they getting rid of folk. We need to talk about park and planning before we get off. So I think, did I cover everything, Tom?
Well, the people got to remember, she's trying to slide him in. That's why she does not want to release these names so that she can slide Sean
Wants to,
Joseph in and
okay, so
try to say he's the finalist without us knowing the other people, which we know have got to be more qualified. Because if he's the
Tony, I can only
highest,
repeat so much at a time now.
okay, well, if
So she
he
Well,
wants
she's
to,
on. She's on because she changed her stuff and didn't tell me. But go ahead.
Okay, so if he is the highest qualified person, then we started at a bar so low that we weren't going to help our kids in the first place.
hmm,
So
right,
I don't even want to hear that. You do not, there's no justification. $250 million in debt in less than 1 year, and you want to say he should be the permanent one? No. So you all, it's not too late. um we can don't believe this misinformation being circulated by Dr. Felton Moss about the board has to vote whoever she selects. No, you don't. Just read the law, y'all. Read the law. Don't listen to any word that comes out of his mouth. It's, and I've already told him it's a shame. You're a minister of God and you're spreading this misinformation. But anyway,
friends.
um,
How
huh?
many of us have them? Friends.
You
They
gotta
got
stop.
too many friends in this county government.
But y'all have to speak up and make sure y'all get those letters out to Dr. Carrie Wright, to Westmore, and to the board to the well, really it's Dr. Carrie Wright because she has to approve it and your board members. We don't need Dr. Sean Joseph here. He needs to go find a job that he's qualified for. He's not
Right.
qualified here.
So let's talk about the other part of the Board of Education, since we're on education, and then we'll switch over to park and planning, which is a little bit maybe, well, not really, but anyway.
Well, I hope y'all will let me tell people who the new OIC is.
Well, yeah, I was
Oh
going, well,
yes, who
I was
is
going to
that?
talk. That's why I said friends, but I was also going to say everybody's getting fired because we can't get nothing accomplished because they keep getting rid of people. And
Hmm.
so I want to address the fact that the board chair, Brandon Jackson, has not resigned because nobody thinks it's a conflict of interest that he be in that seat. And so I'm saying to our state legislators that if a sitting legislator cannot get a job in a government capacity, then neither should a school board member, even
Right,
if it's a quasi government capacity, because the government uses EDC to promote its program, right? And so we just want to make sure that there's no capacity for wrongdoing by eliminating it and having him to resign. I don't care that there's an election. Those people will not win until November. That means he gets to collect a $20,000 check until the end of the year. That's like that's big money, a $20,000 check that you can just kick it with. So I have a problem with y'all D6 residents who haven't spoken up. Now, Sherman, let's go to the compliance person and our friend
Yes.
Frank Turner gone.
Yes, unfortunately, Frank Turner was dismissed from his position. It was due in part to a very, from what I'm hearing from my sources, a very, very, very minor car incident. But of course, When they want you gone, they want you gone. I was trying to find the clip with Burroughs saying, why do we need Frank? Because he's only investigating old board members, council member Burroughs, excuse me.
Well, don't forget
And
it was Burroughs and Arietta, the chair.
uh-huh. And so when I find it, I'm definitely going to post it for you all. I was looking for it when the sheriff was talking. That's what I was doing. But essentially, so they were able to get rid of him in a flash of in a heartbeat and install Curtis Carr Jr. So if anybody knows anything about Curtis Carr Jr., please let us know. I was, of course, searching and I haven't pulled up anything yet. Um,
You mean he ain't
and
on LinkedIn or nothing? Like you ain't got no info out there?
Well, I didn't find the LinkedIn. Y'all know I be deep diving and deep searching, so I need to make sure it was the right person. If it was who I thought it might have been, but they did that quicker than we got the county auditor. I mean, right now we have a acting auditor. I'm not sure if that's a demotion from um managing auditor or not, but I mean we have one and we'll see how that goes. I know Councilwoman Adam Stafford worked really diligently to get that switched over and get that ball rolling. So thanks, and we appreciate her for popping into our comment sections and making it known that she's all about trying to make sure that she gets the work of the people done, such as getting us a
Do you have a
acting
picture
auditor.
of him?
I do not.
I hope this
It's
isn't
so
the person.
funny
I hope
that
that's not this person.
it's so
Not with this
funny that they
background.
did not promote that. Like it wasn't, they weren't, telling us when he was put in or, just it's so amazing how they ignore the important information that should be shared with the public, right?
Yeah.
It just makes it so suspect.
Yeah, because I can
Oh,
only find one Curtis Carr Jr.
Hmm.
mm. Well, y'all know how to blow up, the DMs and the phone messages and let us
Somebody
know.
take a picture as he walking in the office or something.
Yeah, come on, y'all. Intel, intel. So we also had the opportunity to host the chair of park and planning, Mr. Daryl Barnes, who is now the former chair of Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, who, depending on what your perspective is no longer with the commission for any reason that other people might have. Mine is that he was a scapegoat. How do you appoint
Mhm.
somebody? Let them have the benefits and privileges that you negotiated in his hire, and then call him out for it as wrongdoing or suspicious. And it just so happens that all of this came out when they had the failed legislation change or failed change to separate Prince George's and Montgomery counties work on park and planning. And so it's just a little sus to me. I told Daryl very directly, I wasn't a fan of his benefit package. Wasn't necessarily a fan of some of the things he was doing, but it was agreed upon, and he was not given the privilege of being proven innocent, right? And so if this is how your friend treats you, you think that that
Mhm.
that, that they care about y'all while y'all online defending them? When people, a woman, a black woman, an African woman sits on her gavelled seat and talks to two grown black men like they are 5-year-olds, because they are offended because the governor said that the council was raiding the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning budget mid-year. But isn't it funny that the governor did not admonish the county executive, who got what,
Exactly. Uh,
$2.5 million mid-year
Got
because she
quite a bit. Yeah.
grow her staff, but yet he endorsed her, right?
Well, not only that,
Well, it
this
wasn't it
game.
a pause in between that period.
a pause between what the endorsement and his calling that said that they were raiding the budget?
No, no, no. The endorsement and then her endorsement. Because I
Oh,
felt like it wasn't on the initial one, but it
yeah, I
came.
didn't read all of them. I
I
just
have to
know
look
he
again
gave
and
an
check and see.
endorsement,
Oh
but
yeah,
I
well at
don't
first he
under,
did like two and then he did hers.
but I don't understand why he did not acknowledge or mention that she too raided Maryland National Capital Park and Planning's budget mid-year,
Right. But you know
right?
what? Look, let's be honest too. Because I know we were all clapping and commending about what was the language that was put in that budget to stop the rating,
I
but
wasn't.
yeah, because it was a joke. If you really read, I'm a this is just my opinion, but we got that was a okey doke that the governor and the senators did. They weren't serious because if they were
It didn't
serious,
go far enough.
uh, exactly, why would you say that you can't raid the budget after your budget season?
Right.
Why? What? I know, and everybody, you all need to look at your tax bill. On your tax bill, after you've paid all this money, all this income tax and these property taxes to Prince George's County government, there is a separate amount of money that you pay that goes to park and planning. That
Mm-hmm.
goes to the state. So
Mm-hmm.
you've already paid your local government the money that they need to run the government. Now, what they are actually doing is
Double
going
dipping.
and raiding the money that you sent to the state so that your kids can have nice parks,
Right.
so
Right.
that your kids can have nice events and other than a basketball court or a tennis court, and some of these little things that they do over the summer that don't can't really service all kids. That money is earmarked. It's going
Mm-hmm.
to the state because it's earmarked, people. And
Mm-hmm.
now here is your local government after they have spent your money like drunken sailors doing fish fries, crab feasts, pampering days for everybody. Oh,
Fantastic.
I got a great idea. Yeah, boots going to Beyonce concerts. Why they are taking all your money doing that, telling you cutting people's grass. Oh, we're cutting seniors' grass. Seniors, you are not getting anything free. They're not doing anything for you
Right.
because they're taking the money that's going to the state to ensure that kids have something to do so they don't come knock you up beside your head and take your car and take your money as you go into your mailbox. They're taking that money from you and you can't even see because you're so busy. Oh, well, Edward Burrows does so much for us. He is not doing anything for you
Nope.
because he's taking your money going to the state for another area to help you have a quality of life, and then they're
Robin
spending it.
Hood.
Yep.
Yes, they're
Robin Hood.
and they're spending it, and there's nothing tangible for us to see what value we're getting. No return on our tax dollars.
You saw the hairstyle.
The hairstyle. What did I miss?
You said return on your investment, or see where your money
Oh.
went.
Oh.
Yeah, our money is
Somebody get
going.
Donna.
No, our money is going to enrich their pockets while they make you think they're doing something for you. My thing is pay our bills. That's what I want you to do.
Right. I got a
Pay our
question.
bills.
I got a
What's that?
question. Have
The
we
last question
gotten
before Tanya last question.
up have we updated um have we gotten an update on that $800 a month for 2 years to 200 people?
It's
Did
in the
they put it?
budget. It's in the budget to fund again. That's snuck
But
in there.
but did we get a report
No,
on?
from the task force. Yeah, I mean, well,
I
did
mean,
we
like
look at the report? I haven't, but there is the task force meetings that are online on the council's website. So
what's that one
it's still
called?
active. That's
Yeah,
the
but what?
universal basic
Yeah,
income.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
but okay. You said there's a report, so I guess we need to look at the report and see if
Hmm.
So
if
they
it's
just
just a
decided
bunch.
to quietly renew that. So they gonna pick another 800 people, or they gonna
Well, was
continue
it
to
quietly
try?
or we just didn't pay attention?
Well, I
I
didn't
mean,
see
they
a
haven't made
post.
a huge
I didn't
announcement,
see.
but
I didn't
it's been
see one.
ongoing.
Look,
No, I know what you mean.
look,
They don't make a big stink out of it as they did when it first,
cause
was
you
out.
ain't
But
part of the family and friends plan. That's why you ain't hear nothing.
hmm.
Yeah,
Child.
you got to be on the family and friends plan. But you all need to understand we should not be going to the park and planning for anything. And let's remember, the first time that we made that request to get money from park and planning because we were short on cash on the county, y'all remember who was the first one who recommended that and helped facilitate that? Your
Ice
great
Ray boy.
exactly. Exactly. And
She
now she
rolled
done made it
Daryl
an
under the
everyday
bus.
thing. Exactly. It's like going to that you got that one cousin you keep borrowing from. You're like, oh, because they don't know how to say no. And you just keep going and borrowing and never want to pay back. That's exactly what they're doing.
So I do have another one last thing. So there was also a news report about the playground at the Curry building, that ugly blue, shades of blue
The one
thing.
that she don't like. She don't
Yeah.
like the color.
And they said that it was done through the $400 million that they got for the Blue Line corridor, and it cost $10 million. But nobody seems to know how a civic plaza turned into a community playground that looks like somebody threw up buckets of blue paint because they thought the Wizard of Oz was in the Curry building. Now, what I will tell you is it looked like a circus over there now, and we are a circus here in Prince
Get
George's
so
County.
tired of hearing you talk about this every time we go down.
I know,
Why is
but
but
look,
wait, why is that a playground for kids? Isn't that a liability?
hey, listen, I have nobody can explain it. They put a spokesperson out there, one of Jack's returning employees. They put him on the camera today, David
Hmm.
Bird, to talk about it. The county executive doesn't like it. They don't know why the former
Well, she ain't gonna be here that long anyway.
hope. We
Okay.
pray, we know. And so
Hmm.
they're gonna be working on it. They don't know how much it's gonna cost, yada yada yada.
She sound like Trump in that ballroom.
And then he said, because Darcy asked, was it going to be named after Jack and Leslie Johnson? And he said, well, none of that's been decided. We don't know where that came from, but we are talking about maybe using it to pay tribute to some county, people with bricks or whatever. And I'm like, there they go, Ray, trying to raise some money. You can get your name
See,
on a brick if you pay its money. So,
hustlers, they hustlers, man.
right. So my thing is this. It's ugly. It's out of place.
Very extremely.
We don't need a playground. If they wanted a playground for the people that's going to live in the apartments, they should have put a playground where the apartments are. Like, it's just poor planning. Oh, and then he justified part of it of changing is because a disability access ramp was paved over. And so here was my question. How is it that a government project was approved to get rid of a disability ramp, but we supposed to trust them in other aspects of building
Okay,
A
inspection?
government that has
I'm
previously been
confused.
sued for accessibility issues. I'll just throw that
Oh
out there.
Yes.
Lord. But I'm a little confused. Let me make sure I got this right. You mean that light blue ugly scenery when you
Mm-hmm.
walk into the county administration building?
It is what
Mm-hmm.
it is at this point.
And but this is why is that a playground? Why are we creating a liability for ourselves?
No, but I know it could be some more accessible parking,
Well,
And
it
then
could
he
be
said,
that, but still, I don't know.
I hear what you're saying,
or
Tanya.
maybe not. I don't know.
It was supposed to be a civic plaza so that community people could come and protest and hold rallies and all of that. I don't know how it became a
Mm.
playground. And then the man mentioned that there aren't any bathroom facilities. But why would there be outdoor bathroom facilities? Oh, because it's a playground.
See,
So
you know what?
Well, not all playgrounds have bathrooms
not all, they don't. And so I
because
just
the one
couldn't
down the street from
believe.
me definitely don't have one.
So he trying to justify it. I'm like, Lord have mercy, please don't put no
Hmm.
bathroom. And then he
You
claimed it was
know what?
graffiti on the building.
We don't need a Lafayette Square in front of the county administration
Right.
building.
But listen, well, we had that at the Curry at the CAB on the backside is where people would gather to do, rallies and stuff like that. And the
Mhm.
employees ate outside and so it was a mixed use area, but it didn't look like a
This
park. It looks like Six Flags left what was that, their wave pool? Like
don't
they
shame Six Flags.
put the
That's just
wave pool
ugly.
over
All right,
there.
don't
But
don't blame Six Flags on that ugly.
But I want to shout out to Jacques Chevalier
Oh my
for
goodness.
bringing this to the public's attention.
Yes, he did.
That's called advocacy. And we all advocate and activism. We all do it in the way that best reflects who we are. And so you may not have liked what he was saying and how he was saying it, but the fact that he said it brought attention to it. And now they have a cop out excuse to correct it. And I don't care that they blame Angela. Good, good, good. Just clean that mess up and make it presentable.
All
Get
right. Well, thank
get
y'all
rid of
so
it.
much for joining us here tonight on CAG Chat. It's truly been a pleasure. It was a jam-packed episode and much information to go around. And I hope that you will, if you joined in late, you'll go
Oh,
back and listen to Say It One More Thing. If she say one more thing, God bless her.
I'm just joking. Y'all know I'm just sitting here
No,
waiting for my flight home.
no, did you have something for real?
Hey,
No, I was just joking. I just had to do that just to get on your nerve.
like
You
the
know
church
what?
lady.
You and everybody else that do that to me, just run my precious up. Okay, so anyway, go back and listen to Sid. Sid is the student member on the board, and he's an exceptional young man, doing some great things. And also, I spoke about the budget and our looming deficit for the multiple funds that we have. And of course, we had the sheriff on earlier, who was running for reelection, and he talks about public safety, accountability, and also his um, bid to be reelected. So again, thank y'all so much. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, and have a good night.
And happy